Hello, we're going to look at what you need to do to adjust the tremolo rate on a tremolo harmonica. This involves tuning reeds. We're going to look at what reed you need to adjust and which end of the reed you need to adjust. I'm not going to show you how to tune a reed. There are lots of videos that will show you how to tune the reed. And I'm going to put links to those videos in the text below this. We're just going to look at which reed needs to be adjusted and which end, the base or the tip of the reed, would you need to adjust. By tremolo rate, I'm talking about the speed of the wavering effect. I have 3 different harmonicas here that have 3 different tremolo speeds. I'm going to play the notes D, E, F sharp, and then back to E and back to D. This first harmonica is an East top in D, and it's got a very slow, what would be called a dry tremolo rate. This next one is a Suzuki. Those are the same 3 notes, it's just got a faster tremolo rate. This next one is a Siddle, and it's a D, the same range as the first one, is the East top. This one is has a wet tuning, a faster tremolo rate. Now imagine on that harmonica with the fast tremolo rate, if there were a few notes that had the very slow tremolo speed, those notes would sound out of place. And we could adjust those notes to where they would sound the same as the notes on the rest of the harmonica. We could make them fit, and the harmonica would sound much better. Or imagine on the first harmonica that had the very dry tremolo rate, if we had just a couple notes on it that had a very fast tremolo rate, they would sound out of place. We could slow down the tremolo rate on those notes and make that harmonica sound a lot nicer. The first step would be to clean the harmonica, because if we have some deposits on a reed that makes it heavier at one end, if we have dried saliva on there, which is water soluble, we could simply rinse that off. That will change your tremolo rate. If you have some dust or something that's binding a reed up, causing it not to respond, you will lose your tremolo rate. All of the air will go to the other reed that is responding, and it'll be louder, and it'll just sound like you don't have a tremolo rate. So what we want to do first is simply clean the reed plates, and we also want to blow individually into the top hole and the bottom hole to make sure that both of the reeds sound. To clean a tremolo harmonica, I disassemble it. I spray a little bit of isopropyl rubbing alcohol on the reed plate, and then I gently rinse it off under slow moving lukewarm water. You don't want to get the reed plate up against the faucet. You don't want to bend reeds. You don't want to have a forceful water flow. You're not trying to bend your reeds, you're just rinsing them off. And then I simply pat it dry with a towel. Don't wipe or rub the reeds. You don't want to snag a reed and bend it. Now that our harmonica is clean and we know both reeds are working, we can check the tuning of the top row, the foundation row. We can play a scale. I block off the bottom row with my bottom lip, and I'll play a scale on one of these D harmonicas. Now I'm using the middle octave. That's where we play most of the time. So I'm going to adjust to the middle of the harmonica, and then the low end and the high end of the harmonica will be adjusted to that middle. Now if the middle octave there, the top row, if you like that scale and it sounds good to you, you're ready to start adjusting your tremolo rates. You can also check it with a tuner. Use the middle of the top row as our reference, and we're going to adjust the rest of the harmonica to that. Now if that top row sounds good, all the notes are within 5 cents, we can probably start adjusting on the bottom row. If you have notes that are 15 cents flat or 15 cents sharp, you're going to have to tune those, and it's the same idea as tuning a diatonic or a chromatic, and that'll be referenced in the videos that are in the links below, how to tune your harmonica. Once the top row is in tune with itself, now we can start adjusting the tremolo speeds. There are two things we can do with the tremolo speed. We can speed it up or we can slow it down. There's two ways of doing each of these things. The tremolo speed is based on the bottom row of reeds are tuned slightly higher than the top row of reeds. Now if you speed up a reed in the bottom row, there will be a bigger difference between those two reeds, the top and the bottom, and you will have a faster tremolo rate. If you slow down the reed in the bottom row, the tremolo rate will get slower. Now we can also adjust the reed in the top row. If you slow down the reed in the top row, there will be a greater difference between the slower moving reed in the top and the faster moving reed in the bottom, and you will get a faster tremolo rate. If you speed up the top reed by raising its pitch, it will be closer in frequency to the bottom reed, and your tremolo rate will slow down. So to speed up the tremolo rate, we can slow down the top reed, and that's what we would do if the top reed was slightly sharp. We'd probably do that. Or we can speed up the bottom reed. That's usually where we are going to adjust it. We're going to usually adjust the bottom reed if we got the top row in tune. So we can speed up the tremolo rate by speeding up the bottom reed, and we do that by scraping a little at the tip. We're raising the frequency of it a bit. Now to slow down the tremolo rate, we would either speed up the top reed. If it was flat compared to its neighboring notes, we would want to do that. But if it's in tune with its neighboring notes, normally what we want to do to slow down the tremolo speed would be to slow down the bottom reed. And we would do that by scraping a little toward the base or the rivet end of it. Now the reeds for the draw notes are on the outside, and that's what I've shown in these previous pictures. If you're doing a blow note, you've got two choices. You can take the reed plate off and make your adjustment, then the reed is easy to get to. Or if you're very careful to push toward the tip of the reed, not toward the base, if you're very careful, you can push the reed through the slot and support it and adjust it that way. This is much quicker, much easier, but you got to be careful, especially on the shorter reeds up at the high end. So if you're not comfortable doing that, you can take the reed plates off, but that's a lot more work. So here's a picture of slowing down the bottom blow reed by reaching through the slot with a 5-cent tuner. This is a tuner that you can get from Andrew Zajac. And here's a picture of pushing the blow reed through the slot to speed up the blow reed, and in this case it's the bottom blow reed, so we can scrape a little on the tip and then increase our tremolo rate. Now I've made tremolo rate adjustments to several of my harmonicas, probably most of my harmonicas actually, and reeds can fatigue a little bit over the years, and you might have to go back in a few years and and make another small adjustment. But it's quite doable. Now I'm going to say this 3 times so you remember it. Make tiny adjustments and test. I'll repeat, make small changes and test. I'll repeat it again. Scrape just a little metal off and check your progress. You can always take more metal off. It's difficult to put it back on. When you put the covers back on your harmonica, that can affect the tremolo rate also. So after you put the covers back on, that'll be your final test. And if the tremolo rate has changed a little bit, you might have to take them back off and make a tiny adjustment and then put them back on to test that adjustment. If you've made 4 or 5 adjustments to a reed, it's time to stop adjusting. Play the harmonica a bit, let it settle in, and then check it again tomorrow. Now these first 4 tools come in Andrew Zajak's basic tool kit. The support tool and plinker. You can take a business card, a stiff piece of paper, and use that. The next tool, the brass tool, if you don't have one, you could straighten out a paper clip and use that. The next 2 tools I find very useful for making tiny adjustments. They have a little point on them that's used to scrape. The next thing there is that's a little grinding bit for a Dremel. I don't actually use the motor part. I just hold this with my fingers, and it's a smooth type of a sharpening stone that will scrape with. And then the last tool there is a small file. And before I had the tools that came in the Andrew Zajak's basic tool kit, I just used these other tools, and I was able to, a piece of paper, the paper clip, and the little file, the little grinder, and I was able to adjust my tremolo harmonicas. It's easier with the proper tools, but it's possible with simpler tools also. If you're not careful, you can damage your harmonica reeds. You can destroy a harmonica reed. So if you don't feel comfortable doing this, hire a professional to do it. Bye for now.